Hello, everybody. This is the usual weekly meeting for the Gateway API. Today is the December the 3rd. And yeah, as I said, this is the Gateway API weekly meeting. And as always, it's regulated by the CNCF. So basically, just be nice with each other. I can see a few people here that may be new to this meeting. So if anyone wants to introduce themselves, please, it would be very nice. And also, if you want to switch on your camera, again, this is very appreciated. Just if you can, it's not mandatory in any way. Okay, anyone wants to introduce themselves? If anyone is new, of course.
I can say hi if you want to.
Yeah, sure. If you want to, of course.
Sure.
Hi.
Yeah. Yes. My name is Aslak Knudsen, and I'm from Red Hat. Currently tasked with the Gateway API on the OpenShift Istio implementation, and just lurking here mostly to see what's going on at the moment. So yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, Pooja, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Pooja from Google. Also starting to lurk around, mainly because I'm looking at cluster IP gateway kind of an implementation at this point.
Cool. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay. And also, if you want to write down your name in the entities list, please do. So I guess we can start. The first item is checking on the gaps for 1.3. Rob, do you want to run this one?
Yeah, sure. We can run through this. Yeah, now that we're in the release phase of this, actually, I think it's the gap refinement phase. I forget what we call this phase, but basically this phase ending on January 21 this year is meant that we need to have all these gaps finalized and good to go by that date, or they will get dropped from the release. For standard channel, there are a few that the gap work is actually less significant for standard channel because you likely already have a gap that's been approved. The work that would need to be done here is more along the lines of writing conformance tests and ensuring that we have enough implementations and making sure we're meeting all the graduation criteria. For percentage-based request mirroring, that has been led by Jake, who works at Google. I've chatted with him offline. I don't think he's at today's meeting, but I can follow up with him on that. The next one, backend TLS policy. Candace, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Cool. Any updates? Anything blocking you or that we can help with?
Not at the moment. I have not looked at this for a while. We'll come back to it. I'm working on the just on the compliance conformance tests rather.
Yep. Yeah, makes sense.
I actually have something about the backend TLS policy. At Kong, I'm implementing backend TLS policy, so we're going to have an additional implementation for it. It's not a big deal because we already have at least 3 implementations, but yeah, it's yet one more.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. It'll be the 5th implementation, actually. We have 4 now.
Do you, as you're adding, I mean, one of the things I guess we could ask any implementation is if they have any tests they're using already, because maybe some of the tests that, you know, they may have already been written as this is implemented could be used as a reference for writing conformance tests as well.
You don't really think implementations write tests, do you, Rob?
No, who needs that?
Actually, I'm still in the implementation phase, but yeah, I'll try to figure out if I can contribute to the conformance somehow, of course.
Cool. Awesome. And then the next one is policy attachment. This is another massive one. Guy, I think you're on the call. Any updates or anything we can help with on this one?
Yeah, so I shared earlier today a link to a Google Doc where we started a draft for a possible new text for GAP 2649, maybe also 2648, with the hope of reuniting those two, right, respectively inherited policies and direct policies. Nick, who's obviously not on the call because of timing, will be giving that draft a first scan and a first review to hopefully in a few more days, to be pushing that in the form of a draft pull request itself.
Guy, shall we link that
that's the
from the
current
meeting notes, or would
Absolutely,
you rather?
we can do that. Yeah,
Okay.
you're totally right, Lynn.
I'll go ahead and
Thank
do
you.
that.
Thank you so much.
I didn't want to just do it before finding out if it was in too early a state.
Yeah, at this stage, what I try to keep it as vague as I could in some of the definitions, due to the current work with other groups outside of Gateway API, also doing some kind of policy implementation. And mainly I'm talking about network policy, right? And keeping it open for them perhaps to also adopt the standard. So however we define, they basically share the same concepts as we do of policies that build on top of some kind of hierarchy that also has defaults and overrides, different ways to enforce defaults and overrides, right? In our case, we went for in the current GAP, we went for fields inside of the policy objects or the policy instances to specify either defaults or overrides, whereas network policy went for two different two different CRDs for those, right? So they have network policy and they have respectively admin network policy and baseline admin network policy for defining overrides and defaults. But effectively, it had the same semantics of the kind of thing that we do, right? That at the lower levels can be either replaced or superseded by an override and so on. So I try to keep the text as abstract and as inclusive as I could, just in case we want to come up one single standard for all. And if that's not possible, then that's also fine. I mean, in the end, it's a process. The main goal is to consolidate the things that we have been discussing for quite some time already, since the previous KubeCon in that GitHub discussion entitled Enhancements to Policy Attachment. We can also link the head document. That includes things such as defaults is the default in case not specified otherwise, right? And the concept of merge strategies, and among other things that are listed in that GitHub discussion.
This is awesome. Thank you. One thing, one tiny request, if you can update the access on that doc so that people can comment on it
right away.
That would be helpful. I mean, if you're open to that, if you would rather just have comments on GitHub, that's fine too.
Just done it. Yep.
Okay, great.
I figured he just wanted us all to bug him on Slack and then he'd make the edits.
All comments.
In fact, I'm thinking of making you all editors now.
Not me, man. I don't want the responsibility.
Yeah, and then the experimental features.
Yeah, sorry. So it looks like the course filter, I haven't seen Liang on this time slot at least. So I think maybe we can follow up on Slack or GitHub with them. But I know there's already, I think there's actually a PR to make the API changes, but we need the GEP first. And so I can revisit that. Dave, I don't think I see Dave on today's call, but I'm also bad at keeping track of who's here. But listener sets is going to be a big one, so I want to get started on that one soon. Nick added this link to clarifying distinct listeners. I added one comment, but I will say it is a work of art, in my opinion. This is really, really messy really challenging language to get right. Takes a lot of thought to get this the way that we want it, and I think Nick has done an incredible job here. I'd also call out that if you look at the API spec, the generated API spec for this, he's added some markdown formatting, which is kind of fun in this. Well, fun being relative, but it actually reads very nicely in our API docs as well. I still
don't think
need
it's
to
ever
take a
widely
closer.
publicized that can be markdown, and so that's
Yeah, I mean, it's one
really
of those
good to
things
call
I have
out.
very conflicted feelings about, like going too far down the markdown path in Go types is, like, but this feels like a fairly nice balance when you have what is basically an essay of a document. He's added some subheadings and some lists, which I think are nice things. I would, try to avoid adding images and diagrams and links and a million other things, but or
I don't know.
whatever.
I mean, we can take that offline.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'd like to echo what Rob said about it is clear that Nick has put a ridiculous amount of effort into figuring out how to say all this. So
yes,
props to Nick for that, even if you don't agree with what he's saying.
exactly.
Sorry, by which I do not mean to imply anything about whether I agree or not. I just
right.
Yeah.
No, I think Nick's done a great job here. I know we've been waiting for this one for a bit, and I think it is a good kind of prereq for the rest of our listener set, gateway merging, etc. discussion. So hoping we can get that one in soon. Yeah, so please take a look. I will personally probably approve it in the next day or so, but I want to give people enough time to review it, so I'll plan to leave it open and unmerged for, let's say, the remainder of this week. But if you don't get a chance to look at it soon, just I'll assume your implicit approval of what Nick's saying here. So yeah. Yeah, next one is retry budgets. This is led by Mike. I don't know if you have any updates, or maybe you already added one in here, Mike.
Yeah, I met with Eric Bishop, who's a Istio user and currently works at Fox. He is interested in helping contribute to the design of this, and also like having input from an actual end user who wants to use this functionality. I'm jumping up at the opportunity. I had a chance to meet with him like a week or two ago to kind of talk through starting background research on it. And we've collected a whole bunch of links, and I will absolutely also want some input from Flynn on Linkerd, both current implementation as well as intent and desire for this feature.
I will be happy to talk to you about.
Awesome. And I think Rajat Sharma's on the call too, who I believe is also another Istio user who's interested in this functionality.
Yep.
Cool.
Awesome.
Please reach out directly to me in Slack, and I'm happy to loop you into any conversations or upload anything that you're interested in picking up and helping to contribute to this.
Yeah, I cannot emphasize enough how great it is to have people that plan to use a feature actually involved in its development. This is anytime this can happen, it gives so much more confidence in what we're doing. So yeah,
it's almost like users are important or something.
Small detail.
Mike, I would kind of prefer to try to talk about that before Christmas break if we can.
Yeah, sounds great. Definitely.
Yeah. So from my perspective, sooner is a little bit better on that, just because December is shaping up to be a little strange. Logistically speaking, I mean.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
My week's pretty open. I'll try to find some time later this week, maybe Thursday.
Cool.
Awesome. And then auth, this I chatted with Nick yesterday. He wanted me to just relay the update that he's been working on the initial provisional gap. He's been chatting with Jen as well about this one and hoping to have something ready. I think he said in around a week. I hope I'm remembering that correctly. But there is work in progress for this one. And yeah, going to be excited to see this one go. Again, to be clear, the focus of the gap Nick is working on specifically is external auth for north-south. And there is a separate discussion, which I will link later. I have failed to link that in network policy for east-west. But yeah, that leads us to the end of that section. And I will do a quick switch over because I know James is a bit further down the agenda, but he needs to drop at the half hour. So James, if you want to give your update, you're up if you've got time.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Rob. So like it says there, we've been working on, there's literally nothing there. It was approved yesterday and created yesterday. So we've got the Ingate repo. We're going to start. Yeah, thanks, Flynn. We're going to start our discussions in the Ingress Nginx meeting. So we're going to be splitting our time. We're having some fun issues right now with Ingress Nginx. So if you actually have cross compilation like ARM issues, that'd be great, helpful to come talk to us in that meeting. But we're going to start how we're going to attack and discuss how we're going to start breaking this down, architecture discussions, all that fun jazz. Even before we start laying out code, there's lots of conversations we need to have. So if you want to be part of that from the ground up, please join us tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Sorry, James, are you asking about cross compilation? Sorry.
Sorry,
you're asking for feedback from people who
was...
have had trouble cross-compiling Ingress Nginx, or are you asking for feedback from people who have tried to who have wrangled cross-compilation at all before?
At all, actually, okay. Because we're at our wits' end. Sorry, I was injecting a need there.
Gotcha. I will happily talk to you about cross-compilation.
Okay, I will. I'll ping you on that then.
Yeah,
we're having lots of fun with that right now.
You're going to find some of what I have to say is going to sound very silly, but yeah.
Hey, we found out how many people are actually pulling the ARM-based images yesterday. I don't know if you all saw that. This is just in general for Kubernetes as a whole. It's not a lot, but we're going to try to fix it anyway.
I mean, but it's thousands of times more than the other ones that have like 0 point something, and we're maintaining those too. So
yes, we are.
There's been a real problem with the whole
architecture
ARM
discussion
thing, in the sense that we keep running across people who say things like, oh, but there aren't a lot of ARM machines running in real clusters compared to x86s. And to which my response is, but there are a hell of a lot of ARM64 machines being used for developers by people who want to run them both. So come on, let's do it.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract from that. But yeah, this is the type of stuff that we're going to talk about in the Ingress Nginx meeting, along with architecture discussions for Ingates and other things like getting rid of Lua and other fun things. So thank you, Rob, for letting me
that won't be controversial at all.
Mm.
And I'm sorry, the Ingate, that's Thursday, not tomorrow, right?
It is Thursday. I said tomorrow, didn't I? I'm really I want this week to be over because I'm on my holiday break soon.
I heard tomorrow. I'm not sure if you said tomorrow or if I just heard it, but
I probably said tomorrow. My days run together. Anyway, thanks everyone for letting me ramble for a few minutes.
Cool.
Awesome.
Actually,
I guess that brings it right back to me. Okay. Oops. Okay. So this is one Nick added on my behalf, I guess, or something like that. But we talked about it a bit yesterday. But this is an issue that Tamal raised earlier, that we said, oh, when you don't specify group, that the text is confusing because you actually can't leave it unspecified because we require group to be specified. So, well, that's not useful. So tomorrow,
it's better for the CD tools, right?
Right. And so there's a follow-up PR that was going to leave it optional, and then I eventually left a comment when I got to it that we can't make this optional. That's confusing, and what we should do is just update the Go doc to say remove unspecified, when empty, basically. So that's the state of the world today, and I think it just kind of got lost. I think we're okay with that, just this turning into a very tiny doc string update, but just if wanted to bring this to a broader audience in case it got missed, make sure we're all okay with that conclusion, and if so, can clarify that instead of it being just a proposal from one person to it being something that the broader community is okay with. Yeah, that's
Just
all on this one.
very, very quickly, making it optional, what is the default?
So that's the thing that I don't think we can make it optional. The only so this is what this was why I kind of held it and had these comments back in the day, was that when we have made it optional, we've done funny things where, parent refs have a default group of, the gateway group, backend refs have a default group of, service, and
String.
yeah, empty string
Empty
core.
string.
Sorry. Yeah. And same for secret refs, but this is, I think, just generally confusing, and I would hate to, in this case, for local object reference, we really can't justify having an optional group because optional group doesn't clearly map to either core or gateway. And so I'd rather.
You can clearly specify something without it meaning the same thing in every place. This is a problem we keep running across. It's okay to say the group can be optional, and if you leave it optional in a backend ref, it means core, and if you leave it optional in a parent ref, it doesn't. We can do that. That is okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's necessarily ideal, but the idea that we should take it off the table simply because it might mean different things, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. We should be willing to think about that.
I agree with that. What I'm suggesting here is the type in question is local object reference. And we can definitely have, defaults where they make sense. But a generic local object reference should not have we could create a core local object reference, for example, or a gateway local object reference that had that kind of default group, but not this type. So that is my.
Yeah. Okay. Now I see where you're coming from. That makes sense to me.
Cool. Okay. I'll clear up that comment with a follow-up, and if anyone wants to take it on, maybe Tamal will get back to it, or if not, anyone else is welcome to. Cool. All right, that's the end of my item, I think. So, Mattia, sorry.
Yeah, just a heads up that Gateway API 1.2.1 has been released last week. Basically, it contains just a fix for the supported features because in the Gateway API 1.2 we introduced a breaking change, but we missed backward compatibility. The backward compatibility with the previous version of the feature. So 1.2.1 introduces this backward compatibility with the supported feature in the gateway class status. And the second point that I have is kind of an old PR that I created a while ago, and I had to recreate it because it got closed by the bot and stuff. So I tried to revamp it because I think it's still relevant. It's just a gap update to try to standardize how we see the TLS mode pass through and terminate, and which routes are allowed to be set with the listeners specifying terminate and pass through. So this is just a call to anybody who is interested to just take a look at this PR, because yeah, I think it's still relevant, and I think it would be nice to get it merged, basically. So yeah, if you're interested, please take a look. And this is it, basically. Flame. Oh yeah.
It's actually a question for you that just came to mind when I was
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
over some of the older stuff.
It's actually a good point. Last time I checked like a few days ago, we were around 50 answers to the survey, so it's a fairly good amount. We have no, I mean, yeah, maybe this is the time to discuss about it, because I guess at some point we have to close the survey to gather the feedback and to plan what's next based on the survey results. So my thought was to keep it open until the end of the year. Do you all agree with that, or do you think it should be closed sooner or later? It's a question for everybody, basically.
I don't see a reason to close it earlier. I mean,
Yeah.
Sorry, when were you planning on closing it?
My initial idea was end of the year. I mean, before Christmas, right?
I guess we could
Yeah,
leave it open
okay.
until 1.3 scoping ends or something like that. Any deadline we come up with is kind of artificial, right? So,
Yeah.
Rob, are you thinking you'd
Have you
want more
noticed?
time?
No. I'm curious if you're still getting any responses in, like if they're still trickling in, or if anyone who's responded has already kind of just gotten their
Yeah, I
response.
mean, I'm not taking a look every day at the survey, but I saw a few responses coming in right after KubeCon. So it was not only a KubeCon thing, but it continued to get some responses after KubeCon. I think the reason is that we put the survey link in our documentation. Yeah. So if you go to documentation, you can see the survey. You can go there and answer the survey. So I think it is worth it to keep it open for still for a while. But yeah, I don't really know. My initial thought was just before holidays, but it can be end of January or whatever. I mean,
I would say not. If we leave a survey open too long, then it reduces the, I don't know,
Candace, I was just
the
doing
urgency. Yeah, it's kind of the thing. Oh, well, I can do that later because it's always going to be there, kind of thing. So what I might recommend is if you check every so often, and if we've stopped getting any meaningful responses in, say, a few days or a week, then you could say we're going to close the survey in 1 week from now, send out an email to SIG Network mailing list or something to let people know, and then it, yeah, and I agree with Christine's thing, like having this as a thing we do after every KubeCon makes sense, and just having some kind of timeliness to it would be a great idea.
Yeah. I think so. I didn't read the message in the chat. I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh wow, yeah.
Oh yeah. Is there anyone from the Gateway API community attending KubeCon India that you're aware of?
Sadly, I don't know of anyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our mentee applied. I'm not sure if he got accepted. Remember, the Vanch, I think, applied for the talk that we did together. I'm not sure if it got in or not.
I have 2 coworkers from Microsoft going, but nobody that's like very active in Gateway API.
Got
There's one talk in KubeCon India's schedule that's flagged as Gateway API, but it's weird because the title of the talk is "What's New in gRPC?" We will be covering
Well,
topics
okay.
such as
I
open
mean,
telemetry service
gRPC
mesh.
roots. gRPC
Yeah,
roots are
yeah.
doing Gateway API.
Yeah, well, we will be covering topics such as open telemetry service mesh, Kubernetes gateway APIs, plural, and Gamma. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, gRPC route has been, you know, a big, it is, I think, the
It's
first
significant.
API in Kubernetes that, you know, considers gRPC a first-class protocol. So there's that.
Yeah, it's a significant thing for sure.
Yeah. Cool. The next one I think is mine, and this is
Yeah,
just a
it's
really
you again.
quick
Oh, I'm sorry.
FY.
Um,
Yeah.
Mattia, before we go away from that, are you
Yeah.
planning to, I don't know, publish the link to the raw data? Are you planning on
Oh.
doing some sort of processing and crunching? What do you want to do? I'm very curious to see the feedback, which is why I ask.
Yeah, sure. I want to be as open as possible. So I plan to publish the raw data and then
Cool.
create a kind of a report to, you know, to make the data more digestible to everybody.
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, so this is just a small detail, but one of the conversations we kicked off at KubeCon was the idea of a service account or identity-based version of network policy, this being of particular interest to meshes. We've been looking into, could we have some kind of generic thing that resembled authorization policy for east-west for mesh, and it seemed pretty clear that if we're going to do anything east-west authorization, then network policy is the place that should own that. And so I had a conversation with some of the folks from the network policy community, and they turned that into what they call an NPEP, network policy enhancement proposal, which is fun. It's been a good conversation, and I'm planning to attend the community meeting, which follows this one, in around 20 minutes. I don't know that there's much on the agenda, but hopefully this will be one of the things we get to discuss. And so, yeah, if anyone else is curious or interested in participating, just a heads up, that's coming after this, or you can just participate on the GitHub PR too, whatever works. You're muted, Mattia, if you're...
yeah, sorry. I was asking, is this a regular meeting, a regularly scheduled
Yeah, I think they
meeting?
meet every 2 weeks. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't have just the goal to talk about this topic. It's
No,
just
this is just
the regular meeting.
any usual community meeting. It's just this has been one of their most recent topics, so figure it's relevant to at least some gateway implementations. So yeah, feel free to show up and see where we go.
I do not think I'm going to be able to make that one, although I am obviously interested in mesh use cases.
Yep.
So hopefully in a couple weeks.
Cool.
I'll try. I think I'll try to keep the community in sync. So like whatever we have there, we're probably gonna bring it up here in the topics, because the goal is that the gateway mesh implementation's probably gonna implement whatever we ended up with. So you'll be fine.
I'll be there.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I try to be there as well. Sounds interesting. It looks like we run out of topics.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone else who has something they want to discuss? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I guess this is a wrap. Thank you everybody for attending, and it's very nice to see many people today attending this weekly meeting. So welcome everybody who is new to this weekly meeting.
Yeah.
See you
Do
next
we have
time.
anybody new? Well, sorry,
Okay.
did you all do introductions?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Take care, y'all.
Cool.
Bye
See
bye.
ya.
Bye bye.
Enjoy.